Welcome back to a long-awaited next episode about Manic About Movies, featuring your first co-host, Aaron, and my other co-host.
Chris,
We're back, everyone. It's
like we
it's been
never
a
left.
long it's like back like we never left. And they're gonna remember this. They're gonna remember this epic comeback in the future millennium. But this week, last night, in fact, me and Mr. Christopher went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie,
Good movie.
directed by Sean Levi, however you want to pronounce it. But let's get the intro to this movie. Chris, let's just hop right into it. How,
Uh, what you think?
well, it comes in. Spoilers, everyone, if you haven't seen it yet. By the time this comes out, probably everyone's probably gonna have seen it. Deadpool pulls up, melancholic about Wolverine, and he's digging up his grave, pulls out the corpse of Logan, and is playing with it, and then gets to kill a bunch of time cops to the NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, which has gone quite viral. And what did you think about the opening scene, Chris?
I liked it. Thought it was pretty Deadpool fashion of being both fourth wall breaking and comedic while still being violent. Uh,
Very
you know,
violent. A lot of nut shots, a lot of swords to the butt, cock, and face of many a man.
Deadpool's always been very against the grain with the rest of the Marvel ones. It's kind of like they're letting out what they don't get to do for all the other movies.
Yeah, it's like he's their Marvel Jesus,
Yeah, the Marvel Messiah.
the saving grace of Fox's X, or all Fox's Marvel.
Some might say.
Yeah, I mean, both. The first two have been great. I snuck in high school. I convinced my dad that, oh, it's just a superhero movie. Go buy us tickets. So he bought me a ticket, and I snuck in high school thinking I was the coolest cat. It's been 8 years since the
Oh.
first. So it's been a while since the first one. And it's been a while since the second one because I think the second one was 2018. And that was kind of the weird thing about this movie is it kind of only seems like it talked about the first one with his love. And the second one was just like Cable. Yeah, no, gone. The little kid was kind of annoying. Gone. Juggernaut, different Juggernaut. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, barely in this movie. The only important holdover from the second movie, Peter.
But it wasn't the same Peter, I don't think.
Though it was the same Peter.
Well, it was the same Peter, but it wasn't the same Peter.
No, it was the same Peter.
Was it the same Peter? So, like, the way that they had the different worlds, right?
Yeah.
Was he always on that other world? Was he never on, like, world one?
Well, he was on they start off in the original one where it's Deadpool in this movie. He's like hung it up and he's just like a car salesman now.
Yeah.
Because in the second movie, at the end, he gets Cable's time traveling machine and he goes back and instead of I guess he in the second movie he only goes back and he everyone else dies, but he only saves Peter. But in this one, the other guy is still alive for some reason. That one that's just like I'm better than you when he joined X Force. And he's one of
Yeah.
the best friends now all of a sudden. I don't know. It's kind of weird that transition from two to three.
Mm-hmm. And, like, he knows people are following him, so, like, I don't know why he was surprised.
Yeah.
But,
But
but, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the whole main point it seems like here is we introduced to this new guy who's whatever the TVA, whatever it's called, and he's the time vortex god, and he's
Mr.
like
Paradox.
Mr. Paradox is like, ooh, you're thing is dying because Logan died, and now your whole timeline is going to disintegrate into nothing. And I want to make it easier, so I'm going to build this big old contraption that's going to destroy this timeline like a snap and get it over with. It's kind of the main plot point. And somehow the rest of the higher ups have no idea this is going on, or no one's snitched on him for this, of all the people that are working there. And he's like, he enlists Deadpool because he was denied by the Avengers. He's like, you could be a part of my team and end your own timeline because your life sucks right now because for some reason you stopped being Deadpool and became a car salesman and you hate your life and you've lost your girl. So it's that part's kind of weird.
Yeah, and I don't get so like I don't get why he gave up Deadpool even though he got rejected. Like there was no, I guess it just fits the plot, but like they're both like finding themselves again. But like
Yeah.
Deadpool at the end of at two had a purpose, and then he just all of a sudden kind of lost it.
Yeah, the first one, or what is the beginning of the second one, his girl dies, Peter dies, and then he gets the time machine, goes back and bring him back to life. So he should be all good. In this one, it's like, oh, well, the girl left me now, so I got to get her back again, even though she's gonna barely be in this movie at all. So, I,
And Peter, didn't leave him, but she's still by his side, and they treat
he's
him
a
like his life's over.
yeah, his sales partner's right there with him. They work together at the place, and they're a sales team.
Sales Team 6.
Sales team six. But the main point of this movie is that he's like, oh my, all my good friends that you've met from one and two, we're just gonna cut them out of this movie. The Dopenders, the Negatonic Teenage Warhead, Blind Owl. This is my whole world. So this is a side quest of me having to save it because I don't want to lose them because Logan died 10 years ago now almost.
Yeah.
Uh, but
And
we cut to the next part where he goes, "Oh, I'll just find a new Logan." And he goes back and he starts finding a bunch of different Wolverines in the multiverse, where we run into a very, very short Wolverine. It's pretty funny. We run into a Wolverine that's like on the side of the road with one arm. We also run into Big a cameo for some reason. I don't know the backstory on whether Henry Cavill was supposed to be Wolverine at one point, but we get Henry Cavill as Wolverine.
Cavalier.
Cavalier.
I think that's
Henry Cavalier.
I think that's what they called him.
Henry
Or
Cavalier.
Or Calvarine. It was something like that.
Oh, it's a little shocked and sad we didn't get Daniel Radcliffe's Wolverine, but it's whatever.
I mean, what is it? Guns Akimbo? When he was kind of like Wolverine.
Yeah, I do believe that's the one. And then we finally get to regular Hugh Jackman Wolverine that is a drunk and apparently the worst Wolverine of them all.
No, he's just a failure.
He's just a freaking failure, dude. No one likes this guy. He's not even welcome. The humans hate him. They're trying to kick him out of the bar. And then all of a sudden Deadpool walks up and he's like, "Nah, give us the bottle." That's what we get. This is the start of the Wolverine and Deadpool movie officially.
Yeah. Because I think what that happens and then he brings it back and then it doesn't continue the scene. Does he bring him to TVA immediately afterwards? I believe, yeah.
Yeah. He like passes out drunk at the bar, brings in a paradox. He's like, "Oh, I got him," and he's laughing at him. He's like, "This is the worst Wolverine. He can't be the new." And I forget what they call it. What was it? The raining, whatever, anchor being.
Yeah, yeah, they're anchor beings. They're the people of the world, like the most important person in the world. And if that person goes, then the world goes.
Yeah. So he's like, "This is not going to work." Wolverine wakes up. They get all upset. This one guy is super horny for them. They keep making that joke. And there is a really funny fourth wall break in this scene where it's kind of going through everything. He sees Thor holding him crying, and then he goes over to the side randomly, pulls out a mic, headbutts the screen, and goes, "Fuck you, Fox. Suck it. I'm going to Disneyland, bitch." Quite funny. And then they
I
jump. What? What?
oh no, I was gonna say there was a ton of especially at the beginning, but there was a ton of I think funny fourth wall breaks and like quick comments that they made, like, "Oh, you joined the MCU at the worst part, the Fox ones," and it's just a ton of like quick little comments that were fourth wall breaking, but like didn't it like didn't directly address the audience, but like address the real world, which I thought were pretty funny. Which Deadpool's always done a very good job at doing,
True.
in my opinion.
It's making fun of everything about the MCU while also simultaneously doing it. Where it's like, oh, it's just gonna be cameos of everyone, multiverse, while being that, you know.
Yeah, and I thought most of the cameos were pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't have the budget to get everyone back, but it was just weird seeing all the some random cameos that they got the actual actors and some they didn't.
Yeah,
But then we
I
go forward.
I liked Kevin Feige's.
What was Kevin Feige's?
Uh, when he went and interviewed Deadpool.
That's not Kevin Feige. It's Happy Hogan, John Favreau,
Oh, John Favreau, that's it.
Mr. Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
But we get that where he gets rejected by the Avengers, and that's kind of the whole plot. He got rejected by the Avengers right after Deadpool 2, and then he lost everything. I guess that's the start of it. And then we start going on their adventure where he tells Wolverine, they can save my world, they can also save yours. They run into Nice Pool and Dog Pool, which is just kind of, I find Dog Pool very cute. I remember
The most
vividly that
hideous thing I've ever seen in my life.
I find it pretty cute. And then I remember vividly the people to our right in the theater not liking the dog whatsoever, calling it hideous.
Hmm.
Then they get into a Honda Odyssey, which becomes a big joke. Not the Odyssey. They go off to find, they get put into the void. I'm mixing up a couple parts here. And then we miss the first big cameo where Deadpool sees him and he's like, he's the one. That's the ruin. And who is it, Chris? Who do we see?
We see Mr. Chris Evans,
But not
Captain
as Cap.
America,
Not as Cap
but not Captain America. His what, 2005 role?
of Johnny Storm from
The
the Fantastic
fireman.
Four. The Fireman. The Iron Man before Iron Man.
Yeah. And I kind of like them. I thought that it might have been kind of like it was his opportunity to be like, oh, I'm not just a goody two shoes.
Yeah, I'm gonna cuss a little bit.
Yeah, and it kind of I think I went over the top a bit, but it was good. It was good.
I thought it was pretty funny for a small little cameo because his whole thing is no cussing when he's Captain America. You know, he's all goody two shoes. Then we see Mad Max pull up with all the previous kind of X-Men outcasts. Well, not outcasts, but ones from the earlier movies. We get the return of Pyro from the original trilogy. We get the return of Sabretooth, not Liev Schreiber from X-Men Origins, but the original from X-Men 1. Toad, which is not played by the original actor, but they try to cover it up in the very show him. So it's Mad Max, all the OG X-Men villains besides Magneto. And they pull up, we're teased with the biggest fight of the century of Sabretooth and Wolverine kills him immediately. Then Johnny Storm tries to stop, and of course, he's made of fire. And what does Pyro do? Control fire. He sucks all the fire out of Chris Evans. He falls, crushes his balls, and looks seemingly breaks his neck, and we think he's dead. But he's not. They get captured. They're going up to a certain place to be take captive, and Chris Evans spills a little bit of tea, saying, "Oh, I've been the others are the Outer Banks, the Dunes, whatever it is," and they make a little quip about Dune, very Doom looking in here. We're gonna get in trouble with copyright or something. Make a quip, fourth wall break about that, and they pull up to Miss
The
Cassandra Nova's place.
the corpse of Ant-Man.
Yep, the big shell of Ant-Man with a bunch of returning X-Men people. It's a lot of old Fox characters. Azazel's there from First Class X-Men. Lady Deathstrike from Origins. We have Toad, of course, again. Juggernaut from Last Stand, and a few others, not as significant, but a few more from Last Stand as well. And we get a big exposition from Cassandra, and she's talking about how, oh, I've been trying to get Johnny for years. And at the time, Deadpool, it seems like, snitches on Chris Evans and makes a lie of like he said you're a bitch, cunt, whatever, makes this long soliloquy with a bunch of cuss words about how she's the worst. And then what does Cassandra do to poor Johnny Storm?
Turned him into a smoothie.
Turns him into a smoothie and kills him. And then Wolverine's just kind of in the background. They keep saying about Deadpool doesn't shut up. And then we get a big old little fight scene with Cassandra and Wolverine and Deadpool. What do you think about that part, Chris?
That was good. There was not a fight scene that really disappointed me throughout the movie. I mean, I was asleep during a little bit of it, but
There was a small part where Chris did go out for a little bit. He was slumped. We did see
long,
it very late. It made complete sense.
long week.
Long week indeed, my friend. And then after this big fight scene, they escape from it's from Loki, but I don't know the character's name. I haven't watched Loki. This big ominous cloud that's coming to eat them, and they escape on one of the contraptions they have there. They fly off and they actually land to Dogpool and Nicepool, which I was at before and jumped ahead a little bit too much. To the cutest little dog ever with that has a tongue hanging out of its mouth, and they get their Honda Odyssey. They're driving to go find those Outer Banks, the dunes, to find the resistance group. And along the way, Deadpool gives his speech about how I need to save my world. You were a big deal. You were the X-Men. And then eventually he's like, if they can save your world. And then Wolverine hits the brakes. And then what happens, Chris?
They get into a little girl fight and they start battling it out against each other. And since both of them are pretty much invincible, they just keep stabbing and stabbing and stabbing each other and breaking each other's limbs. But it doesn't go anywhere because they're both invincible.
A lot of blood, a lot of stabbing. Bless you. Bless you.
Thanks.
And then we get a pretty good quip because for some reason throughout the whole movie, like when he's a car salesman, he talks shit about a Honda Odyssey, and they talk shit about it when they get it
Hmm.
from Nice Pool, and they make a good joke because they destroy it completely, but it still goes. So he's like, I was wrong. The Odyssey's the shit. So I guess that's some good product placement there, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a indirect ad.
Yeah. And so we kind of end up after a very bloody fight of them passed out next to each other, Deadpool tied up by all the seat belts, looks kind of funny, and Wolverine next to him, and they're both dead. And then we see an ominous figure and see the shoes only. And then this ominous figure takes them to this cave. And in this cave, we've seen earlier in the movie, Wolverine is a bit of a drunk, so drunk that the only alcohol he can find is rubbing alcohol, and he drinks that. And he finally wakes up. He's drinking a bunch of Jim Beam, and he's like, I don't know where we are, Deadpool, but I love this place. And then what do we see come in, Chris?
This is when Gambit appears, and I forget the other.
You only remember Gambit?
I can only remember the name of Gambit. I
All
never
right.
watched the X-Men or any of that. So when you were earlier talking about all the people you remember, I was like, news to me.
Yeah, so these are three other characters we get, bless you, if that was a sneeze.
Kinda.
We get the return of the early 2000s star of Daredevil with Ben Affleck, and wife of Ben Affleck as well, star of Daredevil, and the hit box office success Elektra. We get the return of Jennifer Garner's Elektra.
That's right.
We also then get, the thing that kind of started the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, kind of in a way. I know it's all the credits given to either Spider-Man or Iron Man, but the first big hit was the 90s, which spawned like three sequels, I think. Blade, Wesley Snipes, which, funnily enough, the third one, I believe, starred Ryan Reynolds with uh, Blade Trinity, and that's how he first found out about Deadpool, was on that movie. Thinking like early 2000s, '03, something like that. Then we get the return of what was supposed to be, I believe, 9, 10 years ago. There was supposed to be a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum that never materialized because Fox was putting out bad movies and there was a sale of Fox, so it never got made. We get Channing Tatum's Gambit. And what are your
After his
thoughts?
performance, I would love for that I would love for him to be like a full feature length movie.
I would love that as well. I know there is a big campaign for it right now. Same thing with Blade. Bless you again.
It's like his accent's kind of like what, like a Louisiana accent?
It's supposed to be like a New Orleans accent because that's where Gambit is from. And we saw the original Gambit as Taylor Kitsch from Friday Night Lights, John Carter fame.
Okay.
He was Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and it was very much hated along with that entire movie. But we get Channing Tatum, and he's speaking on all the combo, just they call me the Gambit. I think
It
it's
was
played up for a comedy, though, to be honest.
it was for comedic effect, it was great.
And then we get a lot of quips about Deadpool making fun of his voice. We get a pretty good line because infamously, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck met on Daredevil and got married and had a quite the acrimonious divorce. And we get a little quip about how Johnny died and also Daredevil died, the Punisher died. And when they talk about Daredevil, Deadpool says, "Oh, so sorry, Electra, to hear about Daredevil." And she's like, "No, I'm all good." Pretty funny quip. Then we also get a little bit of quippiness because Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds infamously did not like each other when they were filming Blade Trinity. We get a little making fun of Wesley Snipes, which is kind of fun that he's in it as that's happening. And then we get a lot of quips about how handsome Channing Tatum is and how he shot out of his daddy's penis, ready for it.
Yeah, I think this is the part of the movie that, 'cause this is before the big battle, or in between like everybody meeting and like the climax, and this is my nap time.
Yeah. And then we get a funny scene where Wolverine's drinking all the liquor. Gambit's like, "Oh, it's common courtesy to ask a man before you drink all his liquor," and then destroys the liquor with his card. And then Wolverine's like, "I don't give a fuck," and then picks up another. And then we get introduced to, have you seen Logan?
Yes.
We get the introduction of the person that went and picked them up, X-23 from Logan. And then we honestly may have the best scene in the movie acting wise, where they hype each other up about going to fight Cassandra Nova because they don't believe them that they survived it, and they think all of us together can stop her. And Wolverine's like, "I'm not fucking going. It's not my problem." As they're all hyped and happy, and Deadpool's like, "Read the room." And then we stroll outside to a campfire where Logan is drinking more. And then we have a nice little exposition scene with X-23 and Logan reuniting, where it's essentially she's like, "You remind me so much of him." He's like, "I'm not him." He tells his tragic backstory of how his world, he backed away, the humans were taking over, killed all the X-Men, and he let it happen and just watched. And then he went on a rampage after they killed all the X-Men, just killing all the humans, not just the bad ones, everyone. And he's like, "I'm no hero." And Hugh Jackman is actually great in this scene with his acting. "I'm no hero." And then X-23 gets up and as she's walking away says, "You never were until you needed to be," or something to that effect. Then we get a ride in the Honda Odyssey back to Cassandra Nova's. And what were you back awake at this point, Chris?
This is when I was just waking up. They
So
were starting to fight.
we get over to the big fight. And give me your thoughts on the big fight.
Um, I thought it was very well. They all showed their strengths and abilities, and there were. I'm trying to think. I cannot remember. I believe it starts with an E. That big guy.
Juggernaut?
No, 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 no. The like the deity that like Cassandra Nova, like
Elias?
Elias, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And they're like it was a very, very well fight or a very good fight, and they were trying to think of, oh, how do we stop Cassandra Nova? She's all being, and then they're like, oh, well, she's the sister of Professor X, and he wears a big metal thing, and
Well,
the only way to
Magneto.
s- the only way to stop him was to put the metal thing on. So we have to get the metal thing off of Juggernaut.
Because that's the only other one that exists that can not be controlled by a telepath, apparently.
Yeah. So
But I will say there's a really, really funny scene that has now become very viral at this, right when they're about to start fighting. Mr. Gambit walks up, and now it's become a famous meme of, "Oh, I'm about to make a name for myself here. You gotta tell the tales of this here."
I
Just
think
had to get that in.
I think it was the girl who played Electra. She said that she actually had a trouble acting because anytime Channing Tatum talked as a Gambit, he got so into the role that she could not keep a straight face and would laugh because how into it he was in his accent, which I thought was funny.
Yep, and also on top of it, we get the famous line from the second Blade, I think, where Wesley Snipes says, "Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill." And he does it again where all these motherfuckers are still trying to ice skate uphill. We get that. And then I will say the Gambit stuff was awesome. With his
Yeah,
cards, he brings out his like dancing moves where he's doing all this dancing, throwing cards. Looks really cool. Deserves his own movie as Gambit.
I thought it was a great fight. And I mean, I thought the fight was great. Them trying to stop them and realizing they can't was great. Uh I know we're a little cut for time, but because there's a whole other fight sequence that happens once this main fight goes on.
Yeah, essentially, like trying to cut through it quickly. We go up top, and Paradox calls in to Pyro, and he's like, "Take out Cassandra. We can't have anyone coming back here. She's the only one that has the power to do so." And we get up there. Deadpool immediately gets spanked by Cassandra. She starts doing her power, which she can't do like Professor X. She has to touch and get in the head, where she's always touching people's minds. And she's looking at all Wolverine's all backstory. You see all the flashbacks from old movies, and then X-23 triumphantly gets up there, and before she gets taken back down, throws the helmet because she killed Juggernaut. They throw the helmet on Cassandra, and as it gets up, Pyro shoots her a few times. She's like, "Oh, they need her to be alive," so they take it off, and they zoom in back into the normal world and out of the void. And then catch back up with Paradox, who Cassandra starts brain screwing, putting her fingers to his eyes, mouth, face, and all that. Looks pretty gross. And she's
Hmm.
has the ability to get to the big machine. Well, kind of skipping a little bit here. We get the big scene with all the Deadpools. This is happening at the same time, I think, though.
Yeah, he's fighting off Deadpool's fighting off the Deadpools. Cassandra's trying to destroy the world and get a hold of the time machine. And while they're doing that, Deadpool and Wolverine are trying to fight the Deadpool so that way they can stop him.
And there
And
there is
you
a
go.
there's a pretty good scene where they use Nice Pool as a human shield, and it's pretty funny quips between there, some funny fourth wall breaks, and they're shooting him up, and he's like, "All right, how long does it take you to heal?" Because they use him as a meat shield, and he's like, "Healing powers." He doesn't have any, and he dies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of assumed that maybe he's the only Deadpool that has that healing factor. So he kills all the Deadpools, Kid Pool, Lady Pool, all the pools. They go through this big rampage. It's pretty cool. And then they end up at baby Deadpool, who's just laughing because all the Deadpools come back to life. But they run away essentially because Peter comes in and they're like, Peter, 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 Peter. They run in to catch up with Cassandra Nova.
And from there, they kind of team up and while she's trying to collect the power, they're trying to like, I guess, destroy it.
Yep.
And they're using their powers together to try to battle her. And they're
Well, they don't
both,
battle her.
well, they not battle her, but they're kind of like fighting against her indirectly.
Yeah, essentially, she's in the machine, takes control of it with her powers. It doesn't really make sense. It's not well explained, and she's about to destroy all the timelines. And we have Deadpool and Wolverine have to connect. Well, one person's supposed to connect everything and destroy it from under her. And they're
Hmm.
like, if it's one, you die. So it's kind of left up to interpretation. Both go in at the same time, break the line since they're both invincible, and there's two of them. They blow everything up. Cassandra dies. Paradox gets arrested, and of course, Deadpool and Wolverine survive because they're not going to die.
Exactly.
And then we cut to dinner where he's back with the ones he loves. Wolverine's there, and they bring back the other people in the void, and we have X-23 back with Wolverine. And it's all happy again in the
Happy
end.
ending, and I think they'll end up making a fourth one.
Yep, I think they will. But I will say, before we run out of time, I think this is the weakest of the three Deadpool movies.